The topic I have taken is gender equity in Thiruvalluvar, Thirukkural. We are living in a time, as it was already introduced in the introduction, that gender equality is always under question. And women are still fighting for their due, always. And during this pandemic time, there is an increase of violence against women that has been reported. And we are living in a world of unequals and unjust situation where gender violence is increasing against women. In this situation, we are trying to find some inspiration to find out what has gone wrong, how we can do something to rectify to all the wrongs what we are experiencing today. We are trying to explore into the text of Thiruvalluvar, that is Thirukkural. What is gender discrimination? It is the denial of the due to someone based on one's gender. And this gender discrimination hardly is observed as discrimination. Rather, it is accepted as part of life. Men are to be treated as men. Women are to be treated as women. That means women are secondary to men. They are treated secondarily only. Even the ancient literatures, even they are also very much supporting such views. There are some proverbs. Listen to the counsel of your wife, but act against it. Chinese proverb. There is only one soul among 10 women. Russian proverb. We shall save ourselves from wicked women and should never be captivated by any that have good looks. Spanish. As a horse, whether good or bad, requires spurs, so a woman, whether good or bad, requires thrashing. Italian proverb. The degradation of woman is evident in different religious laws too. Women in Japan, once upon a time, were not allowed to worship at all. But in China, probably they are allowed to worship, but not inside the temple. They were not allowed to touch the idols in India. Even today, it's a great fight, not only for women, even for people who are socially outcast, socially degraded. They are even fighting to have equality with regard to approaching God or the idols that represent God, the temple that represents God's presence. All these things, the fights are still going on. In this situation, even religions are very much discriminative. Invariably, all the religions almost. Christianity has its own discriminations. Indian religions have their own discriminations. Buddhists, they say, to the Buddhist of all the snares which the tempter has spread for men, women are the most dangerous. And in women are embedded all the powers of infatuation which bind the mind of the world. It is said by Buddhist religion, quoted by Professor Westermarck. Gender discrimination in Tamil literature is also found. There was a kind of idea that only those who discard women in their life, they only could lead virtuous life. Iniyavai Narpadu, one of the Sangam literature, that says, Iniyavai Narpadu, poem 37. delectable to consider as poison women of shoulder, tender and smooth as bamboos, and soft as tender leaves. And again, Thirukkural, poem 29 says, it is the opinion of the learned that not joining a woman who wants to join herself, not wanting the object of others, and not respecting the time of life. Thirukkural, poem 29. That pendir veyorku padubali elidu. Mudumoli Kanji, poem 78. That means those who desire women will easily fall into the abyss. The above lines are from different poems, show the misogynism existed among the writers and also their reluctance to discuss theme about on sexual relationship. On the contrary, Thiruvalluvar discusses about both men and women and their relationship in his text widely. And he was daring enough to present relationship between men and women positively under the theme Inbathupal, the third book of Thirukkural, along with Aram-Porul, the two other books. So here, understanding of women according to Thiruvalluvar. Thiruvalluvar cannot be approached without understanding his background. That's what we have seen now. Now, with regard to Thiruvalluvar, apparently we see there are references to anti-women references in Thirukkural. But if we analyze deeply, they are not actually anti-women. They have a lot of things to complement. Since the second speaker is going to focus on women and freedom in Thiruvalluvar and Thirukkural, let me focus mostly on the complementary mentality of gender in Thirukkural. Even if the literature prior to Thiruvalluvar's Thirukkural were mostly gender discriminative, Thiruvalluvar was positive. Thiruvalluvar presents men and women complementary, according to which each one is unique and has got his or her respective role to play for the well-being of the whole society. That is very evident in his discussion on family life in Thirukkural. There are three divisions in Thirukkural, as we knew. Aram, Porul, Inbam. Out of the 38 chapters of Aram, Thiruvalluvar, while discussing the responsibilities of the householder in 20 chapters, he discusses on ascetic life only on 13 chapters. Not only that, he also speaks about the intimate love between man and woman in the third part, Inbam, with the 25 chapters. It is worth starting our analysis of Thiruvalluvar's understanding of the concept of gender from his understanding of family life. In Tamil, family life itself is called Illaram, meaning Aram, that is practice in family. Every family has got duty towards others, and Kural 42 lists out the beneficiaries of a householder, that are ascetics, poor, and the dead. Again, Thiruvalluvar represents that once again in the following: family life is real virtue. It will be excellent too if it gives no room for adverse criticism. Thirukkural 49. Such a family life that is conducted in the path of Aram will even award a person with eternity, assures Kural 50. வையத்துள் வாழ்வாங்கு வாழ்ந்து வாழ்பவன் வானுரையும் தெய்வத்துள் வைக்கப்படும். That family is always made up of man and woman and children. Thus, the whole family is responsible in carrying out its duty, irrespective of their gender and age differences. First point, Thiruvalluvar uses gender-neutral words in many places while discussing on family life. In chapter 7, the author uses neither father nor mother, but indicating parents as tammakkal, meaning their children. Again, that is in Kural 63, 64, 66, 68. Again, about begetting children, he uses a common word, makkat peru, meaning the gift of begetting children. Not using the word begetting sons, begetting daughters. No, he is particularly using a word, makkat peru, begetting children. Kural 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 68, without saying exclusive genders. Second point, he is speaking about a controversy point, that is chastity, karpu. Chastity is a virtue. He demands chastity from both men and women equally. பெண்ணின் பெருந்தக்க யாவுள கற்பனும் திண்மை உண்டாக பெறின் குறள் 54. What a greater treasure there can be than a woman who has the abiding strength of chastity. What is chastity? Thiruvalluvar answers in Kural 974. Even as a lady safeguards her chastity by her own behavior, greatness is ensured by man's unsullied conduct. And therefore, chastity is something that is concerned with women and men. And even a woman, she can only guard herself with regard to chastity. She cannot be protected by others. Chastity is something to do with the will of a woman, so that no one but only herself to safeguard her own chastity, says Kural 57. Of what avail is watch and ward? A woman's will is the best safeguard of her honor. So in that way, this is a kind of understanding of chastity he gives, because chastity is normally understood as something to do with the physique, but Thiruvalluvar is speaking about chastity is something to do with one's will, how one is committed to love somebody. Actually, the Tamil is so beautiful. He says, "Orumai magalirai pola." That means the one lady who loves only one person, committed to only one person. A man who loves only one person, his wife alone. That is the Kural he speaks about. 974. Professor Radha Meghanathan explains that chastity is a matter of heart, and therefore restriction to women in the name of protection is only imprisonment, which is futile. That's what we already saw in the previous Kural. Thiruvalluvar demands chastity not only for female, one's faithfulness he demands from a man also to his wife. He says in Tamil, "Piranmanai nokka peranmai sandorku arananjo anja olukku." The character of refraining from amorous glances at his neighbor's woman is really the outstanding virtue of a righteous man. So there we see he mutually demands faithfulness or chastity from both men and women. Point number 3. Under the chapter 9 on hospitality, the author uses no gender or exclusive expressions for which both man and woman and children even are responsible in feeding the needy. So he is using only common gender there, or neutral gender. Fourth point, on education. With regard to education, Thiruvalluvar uses words inclusive of all genders as Tammin tammakkal arivudamai. That means in Thirukkural 61, I know of no greater blessing than one's children who grow with well-instructed discernment. It does not use any gender here. That means children of both husband and wife, man and woman. Then in Thirukkural 168, he says, Tammin tammakkal arivudamai maanilathu mannuyirkkellam inidhu. If children are better equipped with a broader and more human outlook, the whole world will feel happy with them. Point number 5. The joy of both the parents hearing the achievements of their children. The mother at hearing the achievement of the son in Kural 69 is expressed, and the joy of the father in hearing about the achievement of the son is expressed in Kural number 70. Greater joy than at his birth a mother feels when she hears her son being hailed as Sandon, a noble person or erudite person by cultured people. That is in Thirukkural 69. And 70 is similarly like that. Point number 6. Mutually worshipping each other. There is another controversial Kural, very often quoted, Kural 55, that says, even the clouds will obey and pour out rain at the bidding of a wife who prefers to worship her husband rather than any other god. A similar meaning is also found, however, by Avvayar. Avvayar is another ancient poet. She speaks about another beautiful poem, 2 lines I say. That is, Nallar oruvar ularel avar poruttu ellarkum beyyum malai. If there is a good person, on account of him, there will be rain for everybody. Something similar to that. Equally, man admires and astounded to see woman as goddess with an army against him. That is Kural 1082. The husband again admires and compares his wife's shoulder to the abode of gods to whom he surrenders his soul. That is 1103. 7th point, man's reputation depends on woman and woman's reputation depends on man. Woman's reputation depends on man in Kural 58. Woman's reputation depends on man. Again, the greatness of the family depends on the wife, and good children are ornaments. That is Kural 60. Interestingly, the author also points out that a man's reputation depends on wife's reputation in Kural 59. If a man's wife does not bring him credit and honor, he cannot walk with proud leoline gait in the face of his detractors. You know, புகழ் புரிந்த இல்லிலோருக்கு இல்லை இகழ்வார் முன் ஏறுபோல் பீடு நடை. What a beautiful thing. He says the man's reputation even depends on woman equally. 8th point, the beloved is safeguarded in the place of the pupil of the eye. The beloved, that is the woman, is safeguarded in the pupil of the eye of the man. And in Kural, that is Kural 1123. Equally, 1126, 27 and 29, all the 3 are bringing out the similar meaning. The man is safeguarded in the place of the pupil of the eye of woman. Point number 9. Man is life for woman and woman is life for man. You know, there is a beautiful comparison. The relation between body and life. Life without body is useless and body without life is also useless. And Thiruvalluvar is using such analogies to bring out the relationship between man and woman. In 1122, in Kural, he says, the intimate love between this artless damsel and me is very much like the natural union of the body and soul. Next one, when she is with me, the bejeweled lady is my life. But in parting, she causes deathly pangs to affect me. Thirukkural 1:1-4. Then again, the lady is really not giving, send off to the man who is ready to go for his journey. And she is saying, if you are not going, tell that to me by all means. But about your quick return, tell those who will survive separation till then. That means if you go, I will not survive. And I don't want you to leave me. That means you're my life. That is Kural 1151. The 10th point, Thiruvalluvar was against the practice of prostitution. He has dedicated a separate chapter for that. Not only that, he is condemning prostitution, both for men and women. The chapter 15, it speaks about not coveting another's wife. That warns against all men against indulging in promiscuity. Prostitution is an age-old profession, they say. Thiruvalluvar dedicates a whole chapter, that is 92 chapter, condemning the practice. What is really his understanding of public women? Sexual intimacy is for sharing love, but these public women do that for earning wealth, and their sweet words will bring suffering. Kural 9:1-1. These women trade their affection for money. He compares sleeping with public women to sleeping with dead body. And equally, he also calls a woman who covets his neighbor's wife as a dead body. That is Kural 143. Thiruvalluvar contrasts grace and happiness that comes from a public woman. That means, if you are going for such act with public woman, then you have no space for grace. So in that way, he really condemns the use of this profession, prostitution. Then in Kural 1311, when the husband returns home, his wife refuses to embrace him for displaying his broad chest for all women to see in the street, to see and admire, like a public woman does to attract others. Professor Ayakar interprets it like the record, the strong objection of Thiruvalluvar to the practice of prostitution, even through the words of the wife there in this particular Kural. The eye of many other women have feasted on your broad chest, and therefore I shall not accept your embrace. That is the meaning of the Kural. And Thiruvalluvar's anger against prostitution is evident, as he also compares those friends who pretend to be close with the prostitutes. In Kural 822, he says, they are friends, but they are not genuine. They pretend to be genuine. And he compares them with prostitutes, because for gain, they pretend to be. Point number 11, self-reliance of man and woman. In the domain of household, the wife is given the complete charge. A woman who maintains her family status and manages her household well within her husband's resources is an ideal wife. Because in the world of Thiruvalluvar, that is the way women were considered. They were the queens of the household and they decided everything. Even today, our mothers are the queens of the household. They decide and they can execute things. And the outside, the society was considered the domain of men. That was the world Thiruvalluvar was living in. So in that way, we can understand. But however, this self-reliance is given to men also in chapter 91. The whole chapter is dedicated to not to be ruled by women. There are men who are addicted to the pleasure from women and they do anything and everything for them. So in that way, he condemns such men and he warns them against such activities. However, friends, these are the points I have found very complementing both men and women in Thirukkural. However, we can make a lot of criticism. One can make a critique on Thiruvalluvar also. Thiruvalluvar does use the gender-biased language. That is in Kural 69 and 70, he uses exclusively the intellectual achievement of son, not daughter. He does not use the word daughter, but he uses the word son. He calls wife as husband's property in Kural 141. And importance of mother is given, but not father is given. Eental mukatteyum innadal enmattu Sandor mugattu kali. Drunken rivalry is out of order even before one's mother. That being so, what will it be to the wise men of righteousness? So like that, there are some more critics on Thiruvalluvar. Even he critiques the person who is illiterate or not educated, but he wants to speak in the assembly of the educated. He is comparing him with a woman without breasts. That kind of derogatory language is also used by Thiruvalluvar in a Kural. So in that way, there are many critiques could be made. However, frames of references are depending on our worldviews. Same reality is seen, understood differently by different people. And Thiruvalluvar, his frame of difference was different as he had a different worldview. However, within that worldview, he brought out most relevant and general things which are ethically relevant even today, to treat women as women, to treat women not secondary to anybody, or to treat man anyway secondary to anybody, but treat women giving their due and treating men giving their due. That is the conclusion I would make from my study from Thiruvalluvar. Thank you very much. You can make your discussions later.
So thank you, Stalin, for those wonderful thoughts and ideas, and especially showing how woman also is being portrayed in Thirukkural. Now the floor is open for questions and any clarification. So we will have roughly around 15 minutes for this. So in that time, you could ask your questions.
Right?
Yes, Dalasa.
First of all, for the Stalin, great appreciation to you for a very close and depth study into the Thirukkural to find the traces of gender equity. And you went one by one, even quoting the couplets the Kural, telling the number, and that shows how you have done an in-depth study on this theme. What I am interested in knowing is the Tamil society since the ages have been a patriarchal society, a male-dominated society, and the time of Thiruvalluvar is no different from what we are experiencing now. In such a circumstance, from your exposition, I am able to understand that Thiruvalluvar has gone beyond the influences of his time, the male-dominated perspectives of his time.
Yes.
And how it is possible. Therefore, what I'm interested in knowing is that was there any influence on him to think beyond the ideology of his time, to get such a thought of gender equity? Is there any study to show that? Or did it emerge from himself suddenly?
Okay. Yes. Maybe I may have to look into that a little more closely. Definitely, there are Thiruvalluvar's work is not simply his own findings alone. It's a work he has learned from many other resources, surely. And of course, along with them, he has thought differently and he has presented it more in a more liberative way. That's how I can say. Surely there are many links to other resources also. It is true. But I'm not prepared to give that. I'm sorry about it. Yes, I will note it down.
I'm still looking forward to Madam Mrs. Ulaga Nayagi.
Yes.
She is a very resourceful person.
Yes.
To throw more light on this, I suppose. Thank you.
Yes, Father Lawrence.
Stalin, it is very, Thirukkural is such a favorite text and a famous text, and great to hear many nice things. Your reference was especially on women. So thank you for bringing those elements. Two things to note. First of all, as I listened to you, I also came to mind many social reformers who worked on this practically. Therefore, that's what we study in our subject. But my question is this: such a good ideal, such a good theory, such a edifying example remains only in the text, isn't it? Remains only in the text. So the question is, where did you draw this inspiration from? Now, big controversy about religion. Where did you draw this inspiration from? Is inspiration remains only in the book, or is it moving on in reality and practice? That is my such a treasure is remained only in the book. That's my fear.
Yes. If I have understood your question, is it like what is the starting point for what is the inspiration for me to look for such ideas into Thirukkural?
No.
Yeah.
I'm asking, where did Thirukkural himself,
Thiruvalluvar himself,
religion, it belonged to our society? What are the
yes. I can say that, when we look into Thirukkural, there are concepts which are directly opposite to the concepts that were existing during the time of Thiruvalluvar. Thiruvalluvar's time is debated, but however, not less than 2000 years, they say. Before Thiruvalluvar, there were many texts that were ruling the society. There were some kings who patronized those texts, like Manunidi Cholan, a Chola king, proudly named himself as Manunidi Cholan because he practiced, he was enacting all that is set in Manunidi, or the book of Manu. In such books, there are things about casteism, the practice of casteism or varna system, dharma system, karma system, all those things were there. And Thiruvalluvar is very much against this caste discrimination by birth. Pirappukum ella uyirkum. he is so adamant, so strongly he is saying that. That means he has received inspiration from books probably. Meanwhile, he also got the inspiration to go against what was already established and projected as the definite things. He questioned the given morals that were projected as great, and he reacted to such morals also. For an example, Andanar Enbor Aravor, he says. Andanar, there is a word very much used in the Brahminical communities. Andanar, for themselves, they use that word very often. But he is giving a new definition here. Andanar Enbor Aravor. Andanar means the one who practices aram. Aram is an inclusive word for all virtues, nobility or noble things in the life. That is aram. So in that way, he is giving a redefinition to what was already stated. He was even reacting to what was given as the ideals of the day, ideals of his time. So that way, probably his inspiration was a reaction to what was already claimed as an established statements.
Thank you.
Other?
Yes, yes.
A few points I would like to make. First one is any thinker or people like Thiruvalluvar, they are all men of their time. So we need not evaluate Thiruvalluvar from our present problems that what we experience today.
Okay.
So he has to be looked at from his own time and context. Second one is, we have already made this point in this same seminar. Thirukkural is considered as a Kapu Ilakiyam. We should never forget that.
Yeah.
It's a Kapu Ilakiyam, Tolkapiyam. Tolkapiyam means Tonmaye Kapadu. It is safeguarding the tradition.
Yeah.
What was the need for them to safeguard the tradition? So that is the question that we need to ask. As you have been explaining now, certainly the Brahminism, the Hinduism slowly trying to encroach the Tamil land, the society. So there was a setback and problems and influences, and people like some Chola kings and many kings were favoring the Aryans, the Brahmins, and all those things have been taking place. That was the context. I feel that Valluvar, he had to defend, he had to safeguard the society. So against that background, he has gathered all the points that he wanted to tell for a society to be good. So that was my second point. And the third one is what Father Lawrence and Father De La Salle were asking. You know, Valluvar, he had the background of the either Jainism or Buddhism. So these are the two religion, this tradition that has played a very vital role in this thinking. That's why even now they are trying to appropriate Thiruvalluvar as a Brahmin, or maligning him as he was born to a Brahmin father and a Pariya woman. This is how slowly they are appropriating, or they are destroying his background or trying to Sanskritize him. In that way, see, even now that struggle is going on. So it certainly, or most probably, he must have influenced by the Shramana tradition. And the Andanar, all those things, that Andanar, that was the epitome of holiness or Aravalvin Ucham. So it is not a term that belongs to Brahmins, that has been coveted by them from the Tamil society. So that was Ayodhya Pandita mentions, even Arinjar Guna, he mentioned that most of the philosophical schools have been stolen from the Tamil thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Yesu. That was a very, very important information and addition to my points. That is Kapi Ilakyam. That is a literature in order to save the tradition. Yes, starting with Tolkapiyam. Then obviously I agree with that point. Both Jainism and Buddhism had exclusive influence on Thiruvalluvar, and obviously that is very seen very much conspicuously present in his writings. That is true. I agree with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, Sibin.
Thank you so much, Father Stalin, for your wonderful and systematic presentation. I know you are a master in Thirukkural and Thiruvalluvar's thought and all, because whenever we speak about Thirukkural, your mannerisms denotes that. So, Father, I would like to ask one clarification.
Yes.
Here you mentioned about men's reputation is depends on women, and women's reputation is depends on man.
Yes.
Further, what about other gender binaries? Because in the present scenario, we have some other gender binaries are there. So, did Thiruvalluvar mentioned about other genders reputation about? Yeah.
There are references with regard to the third gender, but they are not very positive references. Like he says, he gives an analogy of a third gender holding a sword. A person who has no proper knowledge of doing things, but he is given a responsibility. That is like somewhat like, I'm not exactly getting that Kural, but the thing is, he is using that analogy of a third gender holding a sword that is useless. The third gender is not a person with energy to fight, not meant for fighting. That kind of analogy he uses with regard to third gender, and it's not positive as far my knowledge goes. Yes. With regard to that, we may make critique on Thiruvalluvar. Probably it was not seen as a problem that time, because the third gender importance has come about recently because of education, because the third genders have come together to claim their rights in humanity. In that way, yes, this was not a problem in his times. Probably those were neglected, and there were third genders. They were made third genders in order to serve in the palace and all those things. So it was not seen as a problem, I would say. But now it has become a question of right, human rights. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Father Arul.
Yeah. Father Stanley?
Yes.
Congratulations. I am really proud of you taking Saint Thiruvalluvar for your research and Thiruvalluvar and his contribution, especially as a Tamil Christian priest. I think it's a great contribution on your part to take this issue and researching. And second thing, I'm always very much touched by Thirukkural in my childhood onwards. The first Thirukkural which I learned is Agara Mudala Eluthallam Adi Bhagavan Mudathre Ulagu. That first standard till now, this is ringing in my heart and mind. There's always a consider Thiruvalluvar as a saint, not only saint, all his values are really interconnected with our Bible values. I consider always Thirukkural is not only Bible for our religion, but for other religions too. So that way, that somehow things, a new concept you have brought out today during your sharing, has really touched me. One thing that you said in between the last part about you expressed a few words Thiruvalluvar used against women. That one word is Mulailla Pengal. But somehow think that we have to accept and respect that we may use it more from his inner perspectives or inner emotional concept. It has come like that. But I don't think that is against our gender reality. So that is my contribution.
Thank you, Father. Yes, the gender sensitivity we are talking about today may not be there in his time that much. The gender sensitivity language we use it's a new phenomenon. Actually, we are learning to be better in our communications. You are right, Father. Thank you. Thank you. And one little correction. Ahara mudala eluthallam adi Bhagavan. So he never mentioned about that Sanskrit word Bhagavan. It is not Bhagavan, Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the one, maybe it can stand for sun god or sun or the ultimate being. The first cause can be anything, but not the Sanskrit word Bhagavan. This is Bhagavan.
Thank you for the correction. Thank you very much.
Stalin.
Yes, for Francis.
Stalin, thank you for that wonderful exposition. I just want to know whether a Thirukkural is widely used among the feminists or those who are working for the emancipation of women. Just want to know whether it is used widely and quoted.
Thank you for Francis for raising the question. We will get better answer once Professor Ulahanayaki gives her lecture. Yes, we will have a better spectrum to see that answer. Thank you.